Give him a big round of applause if you would, please.
I hope you move quicker than that on Saturday.
How good does he look, by the way?
I know, yeah. Where's your tracksuit?
Right, Andrew Taylor, Middlesbrough. Are you left back now or left midfielder?
I don't really know. I don't know what I'm classed as these days. I've obviously been playing midfield, so I suppose that's what you call me.
When I phoned you the other day and asked you to do this, credit to Andrew, he was fantastic. Instantly he said, yes, I'd love to come and help. And the first thing he said to me when we were talking was, I wish somebody had told me all this information at 10, 11-year-olds. Is that right?
Yeah, obviously I was like you lot when I was a kid growing up, playing with me, you know, my mates and my Sunday League team, and I never had the education of what to do before games and what to eat during the week and during games, and I think it's important.
And do you think it would have made a difference? Definitely. It's a big thing.
Yeah, I think it's a massive thing. Like you say earlier on, it sort of enhances your performance and it helps you.
Let's talk a little bit about your career then. Go back, were you 19 Premier League appearance? First one, 19-year-old?
Yeah, I think it was 19.
So 19-year-old, okay, you've come through Burrs Academy, and was it Bradford?
Yeah, I was on loan at
Bradford. So you come back from Bradford, okay, to a game against, was it Arsenal? So you're 19-year-old, tell me what's going through your head when you're 19-year-old and you're about to play against Arsenal. Was fantastic then when at that time. Tell me, describe what you were doing the night before, what you were thinking, what it was like on the bus. You know, you're a 19-year-old kid and you've got all these players, Henri's going to come at you. Tell us a little bit about it.
From what I can remember, I was quite excited. I'd obviously been away at Bradford, played all season there, and I was just eager to get my first game in the Premier League, and with it being at Highbury, sort of made it a bit special. So, funny enough, I didn't feel too nervous before the day before.
Is that because it was so big?
Maybe, yeah. But like I say, it was something I'd looked forward to all my life. That's what I'd aim for, to play a game in the Premier League. And to be on Match of the Day, funny or not, and that was me aim when I was a kid.
Can anyone remember the score? 6-1 was it?
7-0.
7-0. I remember, and I told you this story. I was in a restaurant this Saturday, years and years ago, and your friend was sat next to me on a table, and I could hear you on the phone to him, and I could see him going, let's tell us something, you know, and you were asking you questions, and I remember thinking, I wonder what is going through your head right now. You've made your debut, you go down to Highbury, Thierry Henry, you're 19-year-old, but you've been stuffed 7-0. How do you get up, how does that, so now you're on the bus going back home, or flying, how do you get around that? What's going on in your head? Are you still excited, are you still, or
yeah,
good, or?
Mixed emotions. Obviously on one hand, I'd sort of fulfilled my dream as a kid. I'd played in the Premier League, I was going to go home and watch myself on Match of the Day.
Do you still do that? Or would you if you were there?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Do players do that? You literally? Yeah.
Well, I do. I know a few of the lads do. Some people don't.
Do you get a buzz out of it?
Yeah, it's nice to, you know, to see yourself playing against the top players. But on that day, obviously, we'd been battered 7-0, and, you know, half a year's sort of disappointed on a massive down, and the other side of me was on the biggest high I can't even describe, so it was a weird feeling, really.
Tell me what you'll do now then, your routine. So it's Wednesday, is it Leicester this week?
Leicester, yeah.
Home or away?
Home.
So what will your routine be for the next 72 hours? What will you do? Obviously these kids are listening, and the parents, and you know, hopefully backing up a little bit about what we've been telling tonight. What will you do? So you'll go away from me tonight, you'll get up tomorrow. What will happen?
Basically, I get up, drive to training, get me breakfast at training.
What would you eat? What would Andrew Taylor eat?
I normally have just cereal and toast. A few of the lads have other things. Then it's down into the gym for half an hour's sort of activation. Because I've had a lot of ankle injuries, I do some sort of stability work, a bit of core work for my groins and things. And then we out to train at 10:30. And then from there, we'll finish about 12:30. Sometimes I'll go back into the gym, bit of stretching, a bit of cooling down. And then it's up for the lunch, pastas, everything you mentioned earlier, and then basically it's as much rest as you can get yourself, really. If it's going home and just sitting watching the telly, having an afternoon nap, I know a lot of my mates and stuff laugh at me when they say, what you're doing, and
is it important to you though?
It is to me.
Without it, would you struggle?
Yeah, to me, it's something I've done my full career.
So that to you is your preparation. Okay, that is a vital part of your day, basically.
Yeah, if I didn't get it, especially the sort of 2 days leading up to a game, you know, it would probably play with my mind a bit. I like to just be relaxing at home, not really doing anything.
Talk to me about, let's say, if it's now Friday night. What's going through your head? Okay, you've got Leicester this weekend. Do you know who's going to be running at you, and you know potentially what's going to go on, and more importantly, what's your preparation the night before the game, and specifically for a Saturday morning?
Like what Higgy said earlier, you usually know the week leading up who you're going to be playing against. The night before, again, I like to relax, watch a film, watch a telly, eat my pasta. You know, try to eat as much as I can, really, to the point of where I can't eat no more.
Overload. So now it's Saturday, and you're at the game, you're at the ground, you've drove there. Tell me what it's like, and this is one of the things I loved about being in professional football. That 15, 20 minutes before a game. Tell me, describe the buzz in the dressing room before.
There's a lot of nervous sort of atmosphere that I only realised when I was injured, and I used to come in the changing rooms before a game and I was not involved. You sort of see lads habits and things that they don't realise they're doing, but they are doing, you know, they're nervous.
There's a lot of, like, so I remember there's a lot of people who'll put the shorts there and then they'll put the socks there, and if it's not there, it messes with the head.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird routines, like I say. Some people don't like to put the socks on till last, or they put the socks on first. There's loads of weird things, but it's just that sort of anxiousness waiting to get out and get the game started, really.
What's the worst injury?
My ankle ligaments, I've torn them about 4 times now, I think.
What, so you said you have to do something before, you spend 20 minutes, half hour?
Yeah, about 15-20 minutes just stabilising it.
And how, when you're injured, so you're young, you know, you're 20, 21, 22, how do you cope with it again? What's your kind of, because you said you missed that buzz, what's life like for Andrew Taylor as a person, not as this, you know, a footballer that we see on the telly? What's life like for Andrew Taylor when you're injured?
I mean, you'd be better off asking my mates and my family, but they'll probably tell you I'm grumpy, I'm miserable. I don't mean to be.
Yeah. Do you use anything specifically, tactically, mental, positive, anything that you...
You try. The first week or two, you know, you can try to keep yourself positive. But as it goes longer and longer, it does get harder because you just want to be out helping the lads playing. And when you're not, it's frustration. But you've got to try to keep yourself positive, whether it's keeping yourself active in the gym and things, because, you know, hopefully you'll be getting back out there.
How important do you think sports science is? So all this stuff that we've talked about tonight, could you live without it?
No.
Would you be where you are now as a professional player? You played 130 odd games and you played for England. Would you be where you were now without it?
No, impossible. I think it's getting a lot bigger as the years are going on from when I first sort of started at 16, 17. But I think it's vital. It helps you prevent injuries, it helps you recover from injuries, and ultimately it helps you perform to your maximum.
Tell me a little bit about, you talked about your injuries, what's the pressures? So you're 19-year-old now and you're playing in the Premier League. How does life change for you? What pressures all of a sudden get, because, you know, we're from Hartlepool, that's how I know Andrew, and Hartlepool's a small town and everyone knows you're on the telly, all of a sudden you're in the papers, and life changes pretty quickly. What's these kids in here tonight, they all want to be where you are in 10 years. What is the biggest thing? What's the pressures and the pitfalls that they need to look for? So they've done all this sports science, they've cracked it, they're playing for the borough. What is going to throw at them? What's life going to throw at them as a pro footballer?
I think the biggest sort of pitfall is the introduction to a lot of money at such a young age.
Does anybody teach you? So no. You sign these contracts as a Premier League player, and we all read about it, and this guy's on 30 grand, and Higgy said 90 grand, and this, that and the other. What's so happening? So you sign your contract and that's it, you just left to go back home and, you know...
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I've always said from a young age when you're going from school, they should sort of educate the lads on how to manage the money and things, because like I say, you could get to a point, a bit like what happened with myself. I was out of contract when I made my debut that season. I was going to be out of contract, and then all of a sudden I found myself being offered a 4-year deal on X amount of money, and it was a bit of a culture shock.
Did life change overnight, or did it take a little time to...
I thought my life was staying the same, but obviously, you know, it's not. And I was a bit, let's say, it was a culture shock for me. And it takes time to get used to it.
Other pressures, other influences, anything you can think of, what other than your friends and your family, do people try and come into your life? Do people try, or agents, you know, do they say, let's do this or let's do that?
I mean, there's a prime example of the one that's in the news with Stewie Downing's ex-agent Ian Elliott.
Yeah.
That's a prime example of if you get bad representation of what can happen. I'm a firm believer that if you get a good agent, it's important, they look after you, they sort out problems for you. But there'll always be people who feel that they can take advantage of a young lad who's come into a lot of money.
Let's move away from that a little bit. We spoke about Beckham and Gerrard and Scholes and people like that. Tell me a little bit about this guy, Wayne Rooney. What's it like for him? Because again, we're talking about off-the-field pressures, and we were trying to get from Craig what it's like. You're playing against Wayne Rooney, okay, and you know all this off-the-field pressures going on. What's it like for Rooney? So he's in the papers, and you know his wife said this, and somebody else has said this. How much is that going to affect him when you're playing against him?
I think for him, it won't really affect him. He's that sort of mentally strong.
Is he a bit of a miserable and a bit grunty and a bit?
Yeah,
that's the way he comes across.
I mean, when I was playing back at Old Trafford, I think we drew 1-1, and it was a season that, you know, they needed to beat us. And I remember I was trying to have a little bit crack with him, you know, and he just turned around and swore at me to get lost, and I found that quite sort of, I had to stand back a bit, you know, I wasn't expecting it often.
So you were playing against Manchester United, right? Let's say we're back in the Premier League was it September, August time, when all of this story broke about Wayne Rooney and his off-the-field problems and this, that and the other, and you're going to the game, you're on the way to Old Trafford, and you're reading the paper that Mrs Rooney has kicked him out. Would you make a polite inquiry as to how his missus is if he's running past you?
I wouldn't dream of it, because I know the next time he's going to absolutely smash me.
So nobody would. Rooney's got that. He's got that edge that nobody.
There might be one or two.
Would you be fearful of him coming up behind you for want of a?
Yeah, he's that type of person, you know. That I wouldn't like to feel his tackle. No.
Right. What's the? Would you care to elaborate, or is that right? We've seen enough of Rooney's tackle in the papers and everything else that goes on. What's the best game you've played in, and why? Was it Ashley Cole's tackle that we seen in the paper? Wasn't it? Right.